secured area, and there was no way that we could have the destroyer alongside my carrier, at the same speed. They didn't want any. I was aboard there about 2 weeks, and finally it was the decision was made, and they pulled up alongside, and the destroyer about amidships, abreast of the fantail of my carrier, and they got these ropes all in place, and the destroyer had the mail. No. Yes, for my carrier, and they had all these ropes and pulleys, and the breacher's boy, and they started across with this first bag of mail, and the ropes parted, and the bag of mail went in the drink and right into the screws of my carrier, and it's gone forever. And so I'm standing there, and I had to wait, and they got the ropes and pulleys all back together, and they started across with a second bag of mail, and again the ropes broke, and the bag of mail went in the drink, and it's gone forever.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah, and those kids aboard, that mail, as you've probably heard recently about this carrier, that just came into Everett, Washington, the Abe Lincoln. They talked about what the mail means to these kids. Well, that mail was gone forever, and then the destroyer was to get 200 gallons of ice cream. They had facilities for refrigeration, but they had no facilities for manufacturing, which we did on the carrier. And so they were to get 200 gallons of ice cream for delivering the mail, and they start across with the ice cream, and it makes it safely to the destroyer, and I'm next. And God, I just I'd witnessed all of this other business, and so they start across, and then I'm in a breacher's boy, and you're.
What is a breacher's boy?
Well, it's a seat that is attached to these pulleys, and then they just pull you across the same as they had with the ice cream. And anyway, I make it, and the skipper of my carrier is back there to meet me, and he makes this big announcement: Adams will trade an F-6F Hellcat for a Japanese destroyer any day of the week, And well, there wasn't anything left of that destroyer. I mean, it had blown to Kingdom Come, and we learned later that it was loaded with mines. Well, this picture was taken by George Bush's air crewman, or one of his air crewmen that did this photography from George Bush's torpedo plane. But you can see that there is nothing on the water. The aircraft or the destroyer just went to Kingdom Come. It just exploded, and that cloud is probably close to 2,000 feet high. But it was just moments. As you can see, there's still debris going vertically and falling, so this was the explosion just seconds after the ship exploded, and there was nothing left. There were no survivors, of course, but that is the...
What do you think was on board that caused such a severe explosion?
It was loaded with loaded with mines. We learned that about, 10 years after the war.
So you didn't know it when you hit it then. There were how many of you that attacked this plane?
There were just the four of us that had three ahead of me, and I was the fourth in my group to fire, and it exploded while I was still firing. And there was no way to avoid the debris coming up because the violence of that explosion. And I was probably, I could have been lower than 1,000 feet, but I think I took the hit at about 1,000 feet.
Mm-hmm. And that's the attack that put you in the drink.
Yep, put me in the drink.
Very, very good. Okay. Well, I know you have another story to tell us
about
on board the ship.
It's to complete the story about the skipper saying we'll trade an F-6F Hellcat for a Japanese destroyer any day. Well, I'm all pumped up, I just, I was pumped. And this young sailor standing next to the skipper the skipper of my carrier and I, this young 18-year-old says, God, we lose 2 bags of mail and we get a goddamn pilot back? And it brings you down to the ground pretty fast.